Welcome or welcome back. My name is Tab and I love to talk about books. Welcome to episode 8 of my Read It and Return It series, where I rent out library books, I read them, and then I return them. For the first book in today's video, I'm going to pick up Danielle Steel, Never Say Never. And listen, I love a good Danielle Steel novel. They're usually kind of short. This is under 250 pages. She follows a very formulaic plot, I feel, where the beginning, it's very character development and what's technically going on. They're setting the scene for the book. The middle part of the book is kind of like the blow up, and the last half of the book is recovering from that blow up, finding yourself, finding peace, happiness, and joy just on your own without needing other people to fulfill a certain aspect from you. At least that is how I always take Danielle Steel books are. They're a great book when you just want something that it's not light and fluffy. The topics are usually very intense, but the way she writes them isn't doom and gloom. It's more like looking on the upside, like an optimistic writing vibe to it, and I love them. So Never Say Never is about a married couple who the husband decides on coming close to their 25th year anniversary that he no longer can be with his wife. He realized that he is gay. He is going to South America for 6 or 9 months to be with his new lover, Roberto. And he is taking a sabbatical from work. He needs to figure out himself and if this is what he wants. They have 2 kids together. He just completely dipped out on life and is like, I'll catch ya in 6 to 9 months and I'll let you know what I think. The wife is extremely, she's completely out of sorts. This came out of left field. They both have very demanding, intensive jobs. So they just always missed each other. It was hit or miss. They were just working. They had 2 kids. Their kids are now in college. Now they're kind of winding down, and he fell in love with someone else, and he's been seeing this guy for over a year. Long story short, Ona, the female main character, she had this villa or chateau in France that they rented out for a month to celebrate their 25th wedding anniversary, and their kids were going to come for a week or 2, and they were just going to enjoy themselves finally. And he dropped the bombshell on Thanksgiving a couple months before leaving that he was not going. He was going to South America, and he doesn't know if he can. Well, he knows he can't continue in a relationship with Ona. He is attracted to males, but he needs to go to just really make sure before they get a divorce. So, of course, Ona's world's turned upside down. The kids, their lives are turned upside down. They are both college graduates, professionals. They have great careers. So this book is just diving into Ona's life before her separation, during her separation, and after her separation. She ends up going to France by herself. Her kids come and visit her. And I know this has to do with there's the pandemic aspect is in this book. So I know some people, they still feel it's a little too soon to read about anything like that. That is not necessarily a trigger or something that bothers me. Maybe because I'm in the healthcare field and I worked literally the front line throughout the whole thing. But that's what this book is about, and I'll be back to update when I'm done, but there probably won't be much to update besides a rating because I think I just pretty much gave the whole description. So yeah, I will be back. I ended up finishing Never Say Never by Danielle Steel. I rated this 4 stars, and it was 1 for spice. This book was so much more than what the synopsis was. It was definitely about finding yourself after heartache. The pandemic, I didn't think it was going to be such a big part of this book, but it is. And it's not, if there was any, it was not good parts of the pandemic. There was fatalities, and that kind of, it didn't hit close to home, but I think it made me realize how fortunate I was and my family was during that time, since I was working in the community with people and dealing with people that were affected by the pandemic. So that was a little bit rough to read about. I mean, overall, it has the Danielle Steele pulls at your heartstrings. Not everyone has a happy ending, and she makes it okay. I don't know how to explain it, but if you know, you know. And this book was so powerful. It was heartwarming. It was sad. It was beautiful. It was about new relationships, love found, love lost, parenthood, co-parenting, co-mingling families. It was just perfect. It was such an amazing read, and it was so fast. I read it literally in one sitting. So I would definitely pick this book up if you love stories that are very more like contemporary fiction, dealing with real problems and real characters, and just with like a touch of romance. The first half of the book, it really has no romance. You are not introduced to Ashley at all. And then the second half is where the romance picks up, but it is all like closed door. It is nothing provocative. It was perfect. Okay. Now, the next book I think I'm going to read, I don't know if you can tell, these are my library books. I only have one library book at my house right now, and I'm going to pick this one up now. I have 5 waiting for me at the library, so I'm going to go pick them up soon. However, that looks so bare up there. The next book I have to pick up because I don't have anything else is The Names by Florence Knapp. This is a fiction book about a mother who is married to a man who I believe is a physician, and around town he is extremely valued, appreciated. People respect her husband, but at home he is a completely different person. He's mean. She wants to get away from him, and they have a daughter, and then their son is born, and this is set in a time where they didn't have phones, I'm guessing, and she had to walk to like the city or the town hall to register the birth. And she comes to crossroads when she's going to put down the name of her son, because the husband wants the child to be a junior or a senior, wants to be named after the father, and she does not want that. And ultimately she gets the choice, and the story takes place, I believe, 3 different timelines, 35 years each, and each with a different name that the mother picked out for the son. So one trajectory with one name, another trajectory with another, and so on. And it's going to be interesting to see how the stories are or end with each name, and I hope at the end we get told what his real name is, how the story ends. But it's very big about how a name can change your life and how important a name is. So I'm excited to start this now. I will be back. Hold on. Smells good, but not as good as some. I will be back to update when I am done. I just finished reading The Names by Florence Knapp. I rated this book 4.5 stars, and there was no spice. I don't know how I can absolutely give this book justice. It is not 5 stars for me, only because 5 stars for me is an extremely happy feeling I get when I finish reading the book. And this book had so much heartbreak in it. I couldn't bring myself to rate it 5 stars, but I am sure hundreds of other people have rated this 5 stars. This book is everywhere right now, and for great reasons. I will recommend this book for a long time. The timelines, I was kind of getting confused because most of the main characters, the names are the same. Besides the son, he's either called, well, I guess I don't want to give it away. Yeah, maybe because that's kind of interesting, I guess, to see what the names would be. So the son is really the name that changes into the 3 different options. And then side characters are also different, but I was kind of having a hard time trying to figure out like which timeline this person was in, or what timeline this person was in but they're no longer in it, and do we not like this person in this timeline. So it was kind of confusing. I thought it would be a little bit easier to kind of grasp, but each timeline had such heartbreaking moments. I cried, and I cried. And this is why I read romance. This book was so powerful. It has strong domestic violence in this book. So please, if that is a trigger for you, I wouldn't even pick up this book. Like, that is the root of this book, and it is heartbreaking. It goes into detail. It's not just like it happens in the background. You feel for these characters so much, and the children, and you basically see how the mom's life is different in 3 different timelines. The sister, the relationships that they have, I believe it's Sylvia, the grandmother. It is just beautifully written. The epilogue in this book is what makes this book amazing. You finally get to see a point of view that you really didn't get to see throughout the book, and it was everything you wanted it to be. But then you started to sympathize and feel bad for someone, and you're questioning yourself, like, why, like, this person is horrific. But then, you know, you give yourself grace and you realize that I am not a horrific person, and it's very easy for me to have empathy for people. But God, it was just a fictional book. But what's unfortunate is I'm sure this is fictional for me, but this could really be nonfiction in true life for a lot of people out there. And that's what really makes these fiction stories that are so gut-wrenching even more gut-wrenching, because to some people this is real life, and that is just horrific to think about. I would say pick this book up if you like any type of like family dynamic, like a domestic fiction with strong female main character. There's a interesting plot. I've never read about, you know, 3 different timelines based on 3 different names that she gives her newborn son. I've never read a story like that. It was very interesting, perfectly done. The wording was amazing, and a book that will make you ugly cry. The only thing that, besides getting like the timelines kind of mixed up, is I thought this was like historical, because the descriptions, the wording, what people wore and how they traveled and what they did when they came home from work seemed very like historical and not in 1987. I mean, I was born in the 1980s, so this seems like it was very olden time. I know this was in the UK, so I don't know if things were different there, but the story read like it was historical fiction, but it was, you know, starting in 1987. So that was also very different for me too. And even when they were doing as soon as 2022, it was just, it still felt like it was talked about in historical tense, like very old-fashioned-y. So take that as you will. But it's going to take me a bit to get this book like out of my head, especially today. I definitely need to pick up something a little bit more on like the lighter side that's going to give me my happily ever after and my romance. So let me try and figure out what the next book and the last book of this video is going to be. Okay, So I think the third and final book I'm going to read in this video is going to be One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune. This is a new release, and I think this is going to fill that void that I'm feeling with the romance, but her books usually hit an emotional string for me too. So this will probably be a really great transition book. After this, I'm going to finish up one of my other videos, reading Kindle Unlimited. And I think that book is going to be super spicy that I'm going to read for that video. So this is going to be a good segue into reading something completely off the walls. I never anticipated Charlie Florrick. Good things happen at the lake. That's what Alice's grandmother says, and it's true. Alice spent just one summer there at a cottage with Nan when she was 17. It's where she took that photo, the one of 3 grinning teenagers in a yellow speedboat, the image that changed her life. Okay. Oh, this is interesting because for some reason I thought the cover of this was the 3 kids on a yellow speedboat, but I'm guessing that must be Charlie and Alice on the yellow speedboat. That's sleuthy skills here. So yeah, sorry that this is on it. This is like one of these special books that you can't like place a hold on in the app. You have to physically be in the store to pick it up, and you are only allowed 14 days. There's no renewals, no nothing. So I don't know why they need to put a big sticker on it. So yeah, I'll be back to update when I'm finished with that. I ended up finishing reading One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, and I rated this book 4.25 stars with 2 for spice. Now, I have read every Carly Fortune book besides the one that was released last year. For whatever reason, I skipped that one. I'm going to go back to read it, but I forgot how much I love her writing. She's so popular for such great reasons. Like, her stories that she tells, they just feel so grown up. She deserves all the praise that she gets, is like a roundabout way of what I'm trying to like even get out of my mouth. So the story, like the setup is Alice, who's the female main character. She takes a photo when she goes to Barry's Bay, which is a lake in the summer. She went with her grandmother and her twin younger siblings. She took a photo on a dock of 3 kids in a yellow speedboat when they were 17, or when Alice was 17, so they were around the same age. And she has loved that photo, and that actually sparked her interest in photography. Fast forward, she is now 32, and her grandmother recently underwent surgery. She's not really feeling herself, so she thinks, oh, why don't we go to Barry's Bay, to the cottage that we used to go to every year, and we can take the whole summer off. You can recuperate, I can recuperate. She's feeling burnt out with photography, that she's doing jobs that she really doesn't have any passion in. So they both kind of take like a little sabbatical for the summer. The book goes from June to October, and it's basically just the summer and then a little bit after the summer. And don't skip ahead to see the dates like I did. Thankfully, I did not spoil it for myself, but under the dates, it has like what it's talking about, 40 days left at the lake, but then it changes to other things, and it's like a spoiler if you were to see things towards the last chapters, I guess. So just take my word for it. It starts on June 18th, and the book, like the last chapter, is Friday, October 10th. There is something about how a man will continue to say like a woman's full name, Alice Everly, the way Charlie, the male main character, said that so much. It was like, so that's one of the things, like very micro niche tropes that I enjoy, is when the male main character calls the female main character her full name. This is the first time the female main character has like auburn reddish colored hair, and Charlie tried to call her Red, He did it like 2 or 3 times in the same chapter, and she was like, listen, I don't like that nickname. And he's never called her that again in the book. I thought Red was going to be like a recurring nickname, but you don't really find that when someone says they don't like the nickname, that the other person actually stops. They usually do it just to kind of like needle them a little bit more. So I thought that was nice, considerate. I also enjoyed Charlie's story. He's a multi-layered character that you really don't see, because surface level, he seems like the astronomically hot, has a great job, has everything going for him. But of course, once you peel back the layers of that onion, there is an insecurity deep down inside, and we get to see that, and it's very interesting and very real. And I was just so happy at the end they both could kind of figure it out and get together. One thing I thought, I'm not going to say I didn't enjoy, because they were barely in the story and they kind of got a little bit of redemption at the end. Alice's twin younger siblings. They're in their like early 20s, like maybe 23 or 24, but they are so flaky. And I get that's probably how people are in their early to mid 20s. I wasn't. But the way these people like just enabled these twins to have like no responsibilities or priorities was like kind of annoying. Other than that though, I loved it. This was such a great romance novel at the root. Finding yourself, opening yourself up to people, taking a chance, being vulnerable, all the things people don't like to do, but is so well written in books. It was amazing. So I would pick this up if you like a slow burn. Listen, I gave this a 2 on my spicy scale, and it was barely a 2. It was lots of kissing, lots of yearning, just such a slow burn, and it was almost like unbearable. And when it got to be unbearable, it was finally like, oh, okay, she's giving me a little something. Okay. Lake life. This book primarily takes place on a lake. It is summer. There's bathing suits, swimming, boating, rock jumping, barbecues, movies, popcorn. It is so summery. It's amazing. Definitely a great summer beach read. Finding yourself in such a beautiful love story. So if you haven't got the gist yet, I would recommend this book. Now for a quick recap of the 3 books that I read during this episode of Read It and Return It, episode 8, which I can't believe I'm on episode 8. The first book I read was Never Say Never by Danielle Steele. I rated that 4 stars and 1 spice. The Names by Florence Knapp. Oh my god, tearjerker. I rated this 4.5 stars with no spice. And the last one that I read, One Golden Summer by Carly Fortune, I rated it 4.25 stars and 2 for spice. So as always, thank you so much for taking your time out to watch my videos. I will see you in the next one. Bye.